I hope I answer your questions and these rants. I hope these rants answer your questions. This is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. The nod.
That'd be good if you can use that for like the outro. I hope these rants answer your question.
I hope these rants answer your questions. Or the intro.
Or the intro. That'd be good.
I do the letter, and then right after the letter goes, and it says, and I say, I hope these rants answer your questions. That'll be good. Really good. Ugh. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man?
I'm excited for this.
I'm excited too now.
Yeah.
Actually.
We got the jitters out the way.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of energy right now, so
okay.
I'm like kind of nervous and energized at the same time.
Good.
I did a lot in like the last hour and a half, so I'm riding on that high of like energy. I'm high off life right now, as they would say.
I love that.
How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, honestly.
How was your day going?
Day's going great.
That's
marvelous.
good.
Had a marvelous day, and we're ending it here, so even better.
Yeah, a successful day, I'd say.
Successful day.
All right.
All right, you ready to start?
Let's get into it.
Alrighty. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about your journey in music and how it all began for you?
As a creative or as a music lover? Or both?
I guess we can start off as a creative.
Okay. Well, my journey in music as a creative stems from my love of music and how much music held such a big part of my upbringing. My earliest memories of life all involve music on both sides of my family. Going to my grandparents' house on my father's side, some of my fondest memories are the soulful records they would play, Luther Vandross, Marvin Gaye, the Michael Jacksons, the Princes of the world. Then I'd go to be home with my mom, and another large array of music. She would play from Jodeci, 112, to, I remember my mom used to play Tupac every day on the way to school, to 80s and 90s dance music, all the way to, as well as the Marvin Gayes of the world, which is why I have Marvin Gaye tattooed on me, because he's such a large inspiration to me musically. Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing was my first time actually understanding that lyrics, it's gonna sound weird, but it's my first time understanding that lyrics in songs actually mean something. I remember there was 3 songs growing up that I remember the lyrics to, that I can fondly remember. These were like my first 3 songs remembering the lyrics to, and it was DMX's Party Up, Jay-Z's Jigga What, Jigga Who, and Marvin Gaye's Sexual Healing. And one day at our home in Elizabeth, where I grew up, my mom was playing Sexual Healing, and I sung along to it, and I got in trouble for it. And I was very confused because I thought all I was doing was repeating lyrics to a song, and she got mad at me, and that's when I learned that lyrics held substance.
Right.
The words in a song meant something.
Yeah.
That led me to understanding that words in real life mean something. And that led to my creative use of words initially, and that was through poetry. Everybody that has seen me grow up, friends and family, I'm known as like the quiet one, not extremely self-expressive. And with that, once I learned about words and what you can do with words, where words can be treated as a puzzle, I was introduced to poetry, and that became kind of an outlet. Where we grew up, so I grew up, my upbringing is kind of confusing, like location-wise. So growing up, I lived in my childhood in Elizabeth. I went to school in Roselle. So when people say, like, where are you from? I say Elizabeth and Roselle, and it confuses people. K through 12, I went through Roselle public schooling, but that entire time I lived in Elizabeth. Where we lived in Elizabeth was we lived in a dangerous neighborhood, poverty-stricken neighborhood, single mother most of the time to 2 kids in her 20s. Outside of our home and inside of our home was chaotic. So me being the quiet kid I was, I didn't know how to express myself through conversation, which wouldn't be too healthy living in that chaotic of an environment. You know, inside the house, I won't elaborate on it too much, but chaotic household. And then outside you have, you know, violence, murder, drugs, right on our doorstep. I needed a way to self-express. So what I would do is I would take a notebook and I would kind of hide myself in the laundry room we had in the house, and I would just write poetry. I didn't understand the basics of poetry. You know, there's different styles where a certain poem would have certain syllables per lines and things like that. I wasn't focused on that. I was simply expressing myself in a sentence and allowing the last of the words to rhyme. That was my initial introduction to using words as a creative tool and a way to express outside of normal one-on-one conversation. That, with the love of music, I took the poetry thing. My favorite thing that grew from the poetry was learning how to take words in poetry and turn them into stories. My favorite thing in school was writing essays, and my favorite thing out of that was, like, remember the picture prompts where they would show, they'd give you a picture and you had to write a story based on what you thought that story was.
Yeah.
And I remember the first one, the one that I can remember fondly, that allowed me to show myself how fun it is to write a story with words, was a picture called Nighthawks by Ed Hopper. He's a painter, an artist. And it's a picture of 2 guys in a late night diner with a woman and then one of the, like, the waiters of the diner. But it looks like, you know, like that, like LA Confidential-esque, like that noir style photo. And the teacher, this was 7th grade, Mr. Baker, one of my favorite teachers ever, English teacher, gave us those printouts of that painting, and we had to write stories about it, what we thought was taking place in that moment, what led to that moment, and what transpired after that moment in that picture. And that was so fun to me because none of it was real. It was just pure imagination. I feel like a lot of schooling is based on what the school system believes to be real. And with those, like, it's all fact-based. History class, math class, science, these are all facts. But in those writing classes with those writing prompts, we were allowed to finally use our imagination. And it didn't matter how right we were, it just mattered how vastly we can explore our imagination and put that into a story. That bit introduced me to words, creating stories, and having fun with imagination. That led into music around high school. I was around 14 or 15, and I had my group of friends. And this was a time where Beast Coast was a thing, where you had the rap groups Pro Era, Flatbush Zombies, Underachievers. They weren't that much older than us. but it was a massive movement. And with that, me and all my friends in school we'd cut class to rap in ciphers in the hallways and battle rap, and go to the gym class or go to the lunch trailer and just like rap the bars we came up the night before at home, no matter how good it was, but we were having fun. And I remember one day I was just like, why, if they're doing that, like the Beast Coast era, which they're only one state away, it was based in New York, we're in Jersey, why can't we do this? So I went to my friend G. He's an R&B artist, alternative artist out of Atlanta now, but he grew up with us in Jersey and went to school with us. I snuck into his history class with my book full of raps that I've been writing all month. And I was like, I think we should be rappers. Like, I think we should make music, like, seriously. And he laughed. And every time I told everybody else in the friend group, and everybody was laughing. And I was just like, I didn't understand what was funny. Like, we can really do this. Like, I'm watching it happen. If that group of friends can do this and become great, and now they're touring the world and living life by their means off of their art, why can't we? When we're doing it in our gym classes and we're doing it in the hallways, if we just do it on an actual microphone, we can make something of this. That was like the introduction stages. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it. And at this point, I somehow convinced my mom to let me use her credit card for something that, the way I explained it, was gonna be something very small, nothing, just a simple purchase that had something to do with some type of equipment that wasn't gonna be expensive. I ended up buying a whole recording setup with the credit card. Didn't tell her until like 2-3 days later. We get home from school. There's a huge box outside with all the equipment in it. I ordered it from the website Sweetwater. It's one of the music equipment websites. We get home and she's like, what is this? And I just ran out the car, grabbed it, ran to the little room where we had the computer, and I was like, don't even worry about it. Don't worry about it. Went in, set the whole thing up. And I know it looked crazy. I was like 14, 15, I'm setting up like a microphone in the room, headphones. It was all cheap stuff. Like I didn't spend that much. I probably spent like $300 in total. Mm-hmm. But if your son's telling you something like it's gonna be like 20 to 50 bucks and it's $300, then it kind of looks crazy. But that was like the first, like me taking that big step of like, no, like we could do this. So I bought the equipment, and I remember the first recording software I used was Mixcraft. It was, I don't even know if it's still around. It was Mixcraft. I didn't know what I was doing. I had like a $40, $50 mic. It sounded terrible. And I'll get into it, but I think that's why I have so much trauma with mixing, like song mixes and engineering. I don't know, that's probably why it stresses me out so much, but the songs sounded so bad to me. But I would release them on SoundCloud. Like every week I would release 2 to 3 freestyles on SoundCloud of just me freestyling on beats that I liked from famous rappers. At that time, I loved DJ Premier beats. I was rapping on those. I'd rap on Jay-Z beats. I was rapping on J. Cole beats, things like that. And I would just release them, and I'd go to school, and everybody, that freestyle was fire, like da-da-da. Yo, y'all heard, I wasn't even Von by then. I was still Javante, my legal name. Javante's freestyles, and then my family got a hold of it through Facebook and everything, and my uncle loved it. And then I got introduced to Odd Future, and I became a huge Odd Future fan. And if you know anything about Odd Future, their lyrics at that time, this is like 10, 12 years ago, their lyrics were, they were insane lyrics. So I was trying to model my songwriting after Odd Future. Very vulgar music. And my mom found the notebook that I was writing these vulgar lyrics in, read what I was rapping about, and was like, no, this isn't happening. This is not what we're doing. She threw it out. My Uncle Steve It was during Thanksgiving. She throws it out. I can't find it. My Uncle Steve and her kind of like get into it a little bit. And he's pretty much like, you know, he's trying something. He's trying to make something of himself. He found something he enjoys doing. Just let him do it. And I guess I can understand why it was hard for my mom to see that based on what I was writing about. So later that night around midnight, I run into the garbage cans and I find my notebook. I told myself if I didn't find the notebook, I was done rapping. I would never try it again. But this is Thanksgiving and there's tons of trash outside. So I'm up all night going through all the trash bags. I find it, brought it into the house. So I stopped rapping like that and I got back to like boom bap style rapping, like conscious rapping. That's when I got into that bag. And that led me to sharpening my skills all these years as a rapper. But that was like my initial intro to how I found myself being a music artist, I guess, and what inspired it. It was my love for words, my initial introduction to words and how you can use words to build a story. And I loved it. And I think music's the best way to do that, besides writing a book.
That was good stuff. That was good.
There's going to be a lot of rambling.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was really good. No, yeah, you took me on the whole journey of like where it began. And I think that's what people want to know. People want to know like where it began.
Yeah.
The story is much stronger than just like that, you know, visual perception.
Because I always say like, I don't believe that super fans and real fans of an artist love that fan purely off of the music alone.
Right.
There's something outside of that. I believe that the artist's story and who the artist is as a person makes the people fall in love with the artist.
Right.
I think music can only do so much. We crave human connection. So when you find a song that you truly love and you connect with on a deeper level where it feels almost spiritual, I really, really love this song. It speaks to me how I feel. It speaks to how I feel. It speaks my thoughts. It speaks what I've been going through. And then you watch or do research on the artist himself and realize, oh, me and this artist are exactly alike. We have similar stories. We have similar characteristics. And I think that being a musician is like being a magician. It's truly magic and not, I think it's taken for granted how special it is and how magical the process is. And it's difficult. So when somebody who creating music is difficult for them and they don't know how to write a song, but they found somebody who they relate to and can put what they've been through in music the way they wish they could, I think it, like, the connection is, that's magic. I think that makes it magical, and that makes the true connection. Because we're human beings and we just want a connection. We want to feel seen.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Outside of what tier?
No, go ahead.
This is my mind. So when you were mentioning that, essentially like the connection aspect of it is the most important part. How do you feel a message is relayed through music?
Obviously through the songwriting, but it could be even deeper than that. But songwriting wise, it could be literally or figuratively. I can record a song right now about Bleached, for example. My project Bleached. I literally gave the sequence of a relationship from the introduction phase with what you need. I see you from the other side. We're strangers kind of, but I see what you're going through. That kind of thing. All the way to the climax of Found Your Element, the highest that you ever been, all the way to the downfall of Lose My Mind. I guess, breakup song. That was my way of literally conveying the message, which is what you were asking, right? Then you can go along and tell the story figuratively or metaphorically, which one of my favorite people who do that is Frank Ocean, where it's kind of abstract, but the picture they're painting, it isn't literal, but somehow you can see the emotion behind it. I think that also comes into play with tone of voice, cadence, your rhythm, and the melody of the music, the notes you're using. You could be using major chords or minor chords. It's either going to sound bright and happy or dull and dark and sad. If I go on a beat that sounds, if I'm using an instrumental that sounds dark and deep, but my cadence, my tone of voice, and my lyricism is of a more happier song, the message is going to be skewed and kind of confusing. So when all those things match, that can help you convey a message, a story, a feeling.
Just take them right on the dance.
Take them on the dance.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I felt when you were explaining it. It's like you're kind of walking them through it, but I feel like because you're explaining, there's so much more to it. Like it is more like a dance.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like a waltz.
A waltz.
And the artist is like in the movies when they say, "Can I have this dance?" And then they grab their hand and go to the dance floor, and they're like, just, "Oh, well, I don't know how to dance," and it's just follow my lead. The artist is just saying, "Follow my lead," and surrender yourself. Allow the artist to take you on this story. And then just pick from it what you want.
The end.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go into another question.
Mm-hmm.
Who are some of the artists that have influenced your music, and in what ways?
Okay. So the artist that influenced me the most. So growing up, it was Marvin Gaye. It was Michael Jackson. It was Prince. Then it was Jay-Z, Tupac, DMX, Kanye West, and 50 Cent. Like that was my world of music up until a certain age, until I opened my world. Because that was what was played around me. Another one of my earliest memories was my uncle always picking me up from school playing Jay-Z's Blueprint album. So for a certain period of time in my life, the Blueprint album was my favorite album because that's all I knew. Growing up hearing Jay-Z, Kanye West, 50 Cent, and DMX consistently, when I thought of music, I thought of them. I thought that was music. That was the epitome of music. So I always wanted to be like them growing up. I didn't grow up with my father in my life. I would always say like Jay-Z's music was kind of like my father figure. Not Jay-Z as the person, but Jay-Z's music was the father figure I was missing. And he tells stories that his music is life lessons. They influenced me not in an artistic or stylistic sense, but their words is what painted my reality of what the world was. So that's how they influenced me. And then when I grew into an artist myself, they still held a strong hold. I wanted to style my songwriting after them. I wanted to style my beat making after them, after what I've heard on their songs. So yeah, they were pretty much my influences and who inspired me artistically. And then my grandmother used to have a cassette tape from Michael Jackson's Thriller. And when I was a kid, I would go to her house and we would have that cassette tape on repeat all the time, all the time. And that influenced me because how Marvin Gaye's music, Sexual Healing, taught me about lyricism, Michael Jackson's Thriller album taught me how a song can make you move. Rhythm, the drums, bass lines, things like that.
It's a strong song.
Yeah, that whole album.
Yeah.
So all of these artists were like my influences, but they all had different ways of inspiring me, I guess you can say. Yeah.
Good. Great.
Yeah.
What is your creative process like when you're composing a new piece of music?
My creative process at times is tedious for me. Like I'm going through it right now, where in order for me to create a body of work, because I'm consistently creating a body of work. For me to create music, I have to have a body of work in mind. Right? Even when I'm working on singles, I have to have in the back of my mind that these singles are a part of something bigger than themselves. But in order for me to work towards a body of work, something in real life has to happen. I have to have the experience in real life to make me want to make an album about it or a project about it, like Bleached.
So is it externally driven?
It's externally driven 1000%.
Got it.
Because all of my music is real, which is one of the best compliments I've ever gotten. Was I was in this room playing my mixtape High and Out of Reach for somebody. They played it, I played it, and the first thing they said is, one thing I can actually say about you is that I've never heard you lie in a song. And that was like, that felt so. And this was somebody that's seen a lot of what I went through around that time and a little bit prior. So all the stories I'm rapping about, she was looking up like, oh, this actually I was there when that happened. I remember that happening. And I continue that through all my songwriting. So yeah, my music is externally driven. My actual process of when I sit down here and put a song together, if I'm producing the beat, I turn on all these cool pieces of equipment and I throw on the software and I just scroll through. If I'm not doing the drums first, if I'm looking for the melody first, I'm just scrolling through sounds and I'm literally just doing this until I hear a sound that's like, oh, hold on, I like that. Then I use that and I'll build upon that, and then that will lead me to making a beat. And a lot of the beats that I make are, which I hate, but it's just who I am and I'm trying to get out of it. When I'm making a beat, it's inspired by what I've been listening to that month. Because I'm going through a lot of cycles on a monthly to almost weekly basis of phases of what I'm listening to. 1 week, I'm only listening to rap music. Next music, I'm only listening to, it can be down to the artist. 1 week, I'll go a whole week, I'm only listening to Kanye West. Next week, I'm only listening to Frank Ocean this week. This week, I'm only listening to Miles Davis. Now I'm listening to jazz, and I'm trying to come up with a jazz beat. So it varies, and my beat making will be like about what I'm obsessed with and infatuated sonically that week. And when it comes down to songwriting, I initially, which I still think is the better process of having a notebook and writing, because it brings me back to writing poetry and I can conjure stories much more in depth and better overall when I'm writing. But now I'll play the beat and I grab this microphone here and I turn it on and I connect it to my computer and I just sit here for hours letting beats go and I just mumble or just come up with words and rhymes and melodies and that's called demoing. And I just demo until I find a demo that sticks with me, that I can't stop thinking about. One I can use, for example, was Take My Hand. That song, I demoed that song. I demoed the first hook, and I mumbled the first verse. Saved it, X'd it out, didn't revisit it. At that point, I maybe had 2 songs on Bleached done. Did that demo, I was at 6 songs. I kept telling myself I need 1 more song. I just kept playing the demos that I had on my desktop, and that played, and the hook and the chorus played. And I said, why? Hold on. Like, I played it, and it sounded bad because it's a demo. I'm mumbling, but the melody was like, hold on, this is something. So I started playing it for people. And like, oh no, like that sounds good. And I couldn't get the demo out of my head for like a week. So then it was like, all right, I have to finish that song. So it's pretty much demo. If I like the demo, I'll do the demo again, but all the way through, and then I go back and fill out the words. It's like playing fill in the blank. And then that's how my songs will come apart or come together. Yeah.
The end.
The end of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty interesting.
I enjoy it. It makes making music fun.
I think that is probably what I guess a lot of people would think.
Yeah.
Like when you explain.
Because it stopped being fun for a while.
Yeah.
I had told you about it.
Yeah.
Like around the time when I was a little before I made the Proudest project, I felt like I was getting repetitive with the style of music I was making, and I got bored from the repetition. Because that's another thing about my creative process that stresses me out, is that it has to be new and refreshing every single time. I can easily make 5 more Bleaches and they all sound great. But now that I did Bleached already, I want to do something completely else. So I'm trying to find a new style to go with, which is stressful because every time I release, it's a new learning process of something. Right. When I did Bleach, I never made a singing record prior. That's me trying it out for like a month and like, oh, I think I could actually make a whole project like this. Let's just do it. But it's fun because my demoing, I'll be in here with these headphones on and this microphone, and I'm jumping around like this little area as if I'm performing on stage, and I have my eyes closed. And when I'm demoing, if I can't see and imagine a huge crowd of 50,000 people yelling those lyrics back or yelling the melody back that I'm mumbling into this microphone right now, it's not worth it. And it doesn't have to be a hype song. It can be an intimate song. If I can't close my eyes and see 50,000 people, lighters in the air, harmonizing this melody back to me, I can't keep going. And that's how I'll know if it's even worth continuing.
So you put a lot of energy into it.
Yeah, which is like, yeah, it could be very stressful at times.
That sounds
but I love it. It is. And then I had another point, but I lost it. It's okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm just gonna drink water. I'm like dying. Oh, this is perfect. This is the perfect one to go into.
Yep.
Hold on one second.
I said yep like I knew the question, but yeah, I trust you.
So you're talking a lot about Bleached.
Yeah.
So give us a little insight on how your music has evolved over the years.
That's a fun one. It's a good one.
From where you started to where you are, where you're headed, where you see yourself in the future. Kind of give us that insight on your new music style. Okay.
So initially, like I mentioned, it was pure rap. It was pure rap. Like I had to be bars, flow. Like I was rapping, the way I would rap is I wanted to impress the OGs of the game. I want to impress the Jay-Z's. I want to impress the Kanye's. I want to impress the 50s, because that's where my mind was still. Those are my goats. If I'm a basketball player, I want to impress the LeBrons and the Kobe's and the Jordans of the world. So I was in that realm, which didn't give me a lot of wiggle room creatively. I was boxing myself in. So I made tons of mixtapes. I'm like 7 mixtapes in at this point, not including Bleached and Deep Waters. All of those stylistically fit the same. So for 7 projects, I was stuck in this box. While creating those projects, I've always wanted to become or write songs that were deep, songs that were real, not songs where I'm coming up with metaphors to paint the picture of what I've went through or going through or how I feel, but saying it flat out. But I was always insecure to do that for some reason. I was scared to make those records. Then that's when Deep Waters came, which I think is my most vulnerable project on terms of subject matter. That was a big shift for me. Like finally becoming vulnerable in music. Finally putting those true feelings and true stories on paper, on the microphone for the public to hear. That helped build my confidence. Now I could do that. Oh, I made a project fully vulnerable. Now making vulnerable music is nothing. Then from Deep Waters to Bleached, the entire time I've been rapping, all these years, I wanted to sing. It's always been my goal to make R&B music, pop music, soulful records, alternative records where I'm singing. And I always said once I learn how to do that, oh, it's go time from there. That was the big leap between Deep Waters and Bleached. 2 completely different projects. One fully rap, fully vulnerable, as I said, on an egotistical point. Then making a vulnerable project, but I'm singing on the whole thing. There's not a single rap verse on there. Which impressed me because I did that in 6-month turnaround time, where I made a rap project, dropped it within 6 months, never made a singing song, didn't have the confidence to do it, to making an entire EP and dropping it. That was that felt like years of stylistic change and progression within a 6-month span. And moving forward, I want to now find a way to mesh the two. That's another thing that I keep using the word stress, but stress could be a positive thing. It gives me positive stress that I'm trying to find a way to mesh the two in a way that I personally haven't seen it been done before. I want to be revolutionary, creatively and artistically. I can't do that by doing what's been already done. You can't be revolutionary by living by tradition. And tradition would be doing something that's been done already. And I don't want to do that. So it takes me a little more energy, a little more happy stress to try to find something brand new to do and release it and feel confident within it. So that's where I'm at now, trying to mesh the two. Because like I said, I could easily make 50 more songs that can fit perfectly on Bleached. But every time I'm doing something that in my head, that chapter is closed in terms of making new music. I'm on to what's next. What's the next chapter? So that's moving forward. So I'm in that space of trying to figure that out right now.
So it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress, which I have full confidence in.
That's good.
That whatever comes out of that is going to be phenomenal.
It will be.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say, so when you were talking about going from Deep Waters into Bleached, I have listened to a few songs on Deep Waters that did feel very intimate, vulnerable.
Yes.
And the moment that you showed me music that was going to be on Bleached, I automatically fell in love.
Yeah. Thank
you. I think that it really does speak to you, and like you're creative, that you were opening up in a positive way.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And you help with those. I remember that night I played you the songs. They weren't even done. All they did was have choruses on it. That's another part of my creative process. I do the chorus first for everything. Everything. If I don't come up with a great chorus, then the song's not worth doing, because that's the climax of the record for me. So when I showed you the Bleach project initially, all I was doing was playing you choruses. There's not a single verse on any of those songs. And then I played you Call Me Crazy, and it wasn't even going to be on the project. And then you literally started screaming once the beat dropped with the chorus, and you're like, yeah, that has to be on there. So everybody that loves that song, they owe it to you that it exists.
You're welcome.
Out there.
Yeah, that song really did something to me. How would you describe your music style? Would you say it fits into a specific genre, or is it more fluid?
Yeah. I describe it as enigmatic and eccentric. You don't know what's going to come out of it next. People that fell in love with Deep Waters probably wouldn't have seen Bleach coming. People that have been following me for a while probably wouldn't have seen that coming. Yeah, I just think my style of creativity matches me as a person, as you know.
Yeah.
It's very sporadic. One day I want to make a hard-hitting rap song. Then I want to make a vulnerable rap song. Then the next day I want to make an alternative song. Then the next day, yesterday I was listening to country songs, and I was like, maybe I should do a country song one day. I just came across, like, I took a deep dive into Zach Bryan's music, the country artist.
Love that guy.
I was like, you know what, maybe I might just do a country song one day. It's very sporadic, and it's based on how I feel, and how I feel changes by the second, consistently. So it's very sporadic, very eccentric, very enigmatic. It's not stable at all.
Oh.
There's no stability behind. There's no stylistic stability whatsoever. God. It changes consistently, and it will continue to change, and I think that plays in my favor more.
Do you think that it's aligned a lot with how you feel?
Absolutely. I feel different than I did an hour ago, and I feel different than how I did yesterday, and I feel different than how I did last week, and I feel different than how I did last year. And I think finally being vulnerable on my music, allowing it to truly relate to how I feel, allowed it to be as sporadic as me and to really match me on that level. Because like I said, all those initial mixtapes were all the same stylistically, because I wasn't letting it match me. I'd feel a way, but now when I sit in front of the equipment, pardon me, when I sit in front of the equipment, I log into a certain mindset to create the music, like a robot kind of. Like I can have this type of day and be listening to this kind of music and feel this kind of way, but I'll sit here and know I got to make this type of rap music because that's what's right. But I had to learn that in creativity, there is no right or wrong. It's just how you feel, because how you feel is never truly right or wrong.
That was deep.
Thanks.
That was deep, for sure. Okay. Apart from music, are you involved in any other forms of art? How do these artistic endeavors influence each other?
I told myself yesterday that I am I'm like a chronic creative. I can't stop. My mind will not alleviate itself from the idea of creating. And a lot of times, every artist has experienced it. With music, you run into writer's block. You run into beat block, where you can't write a song because it's just not coming out of you. That would lead me to tremendous amounts of stress. It would put me in a depressive state. One thing I keep telling people is that we have to understand, you yourself, as you have to sit down with your spirit, you have to sit down with your person and figure out what it is that puts you in that depressive state. I learned within the last 3 to 4 years that not creating puts me there. Primarily, I would allow my only creative outlet. I would only allow music to be my primary creative outlet. When I'm stuck on beat block and writer's block, I become depressed because I can't create. That's when I really learned, oh, this is my happiness. Creativity to me is like the sun to a plant. That's how I gain my photosynthesis. That's where I get my energy from. That's where I get my happiness from. So learning that, I had to explore other ways of being creative. Other ways to enjoy art and create art aside from music. Because if the music isn't clicking for me in a time period, I can't just come up with anything. I can't allow myself to shut down. I need to feed it another way. So that's when clothes becomes a big aspect. Fashion. I fell in love with fashion a little bit like senior year of high school, then into college. I went to college for fashion. That was my only way I was going to go to college. Was one, there was only one school that didn't allow SATs, and two, they offered a fashion major program, and they convinced me, by the time you sign up, you'll be making clothes next week. Then I went into school. First semester, I am learning about the history of fashion, which I did not enjoy. I'm learning about tuxedos from the 1920s. I did not care. I wanted to be in front of a sewing machine and putting clothes together, because that was my hustle in high school. Was people would bring their clothes to me and I would just design it in any way I could, whether it was ripping it up, whether it was throwing paint on it in a designing way, whether it was hemming it in a certain way. Anyway, shoes, pants, jackets, shirts, I was designing. That was my intro to like truly liking fashion. So I say all that to say that that became an art form for me. When outside of music and I want to express myself in a way, outside of that, I can rely on my clothes and the outfits I put together. I can express myself without ever having to open my mouth. To me, fashion is a great conversation starter. I built a lot of relationships just based off the outfit I wore. Most recently, a photographer comes up to me. That outfit's fire. Thanks, bro. How do you have the confidence to pull off an outfit like that? At this point, I have like my baggy black denims. I have my Doc Martens with the mirror steel toe on the toe. I have a button up with a big leather distressed jacket, the tie and my shades, and all I did was go to Best Buy and I just threw on that outfit. But it started a conversation, and then we built a relationship off of that, and he helped me with like photography and videography. So fashion is an art form that allows me to express my creativity and express myself as a person. That's one art form. As of late, I really fell in love with film and photography. So when the music's not working again, I pick up my camera and I go outside and I just start filming things. I might write a script here or there. I haven't filmed the script yet, but I'll just write one. Just saying, one day I might want to. I'll take, if I can't come up with something to film and edit, I'll take my little point and shoot. And I go outside and I'm just taking pictures of people and life as it's happening. That's my other outlet. And if I can't come up with those things, I'll journal. I'll express how I feel through words again. Write a poem, write a journal entry. So there's a bunch of different art forms in which I like to express myself, which goes into our combos of the I am all the time. There's nothing attached to the end of my I am. I can say I am a singer, I am a rapper, I am a producer, but that would just box me in. I am much more than that. I am here.
Close. Tell us about your most recent album cover.
Bleached album?
Bleached album. Tell us.
The Bleached EP.
Tell us about the Bleached EP cover art.
The cover art for Bleached, which I love. It is this right here, shot by the one and only Deja J. So I had the initial idea to how I wanted the project cover to look. Obviously, I bleached my hair. This was the start of my bleached hair era, and I want the album cover to reflect that, because once I bleached my hair, everything I'm speaking about in the project began to take place and unfold in my real life. So Bleach just summed it up. And I got into contact with Deja. She's based out of Atlanta. But right around the time I thought about, I think I want to reach out to her to shoot the cover, she posted on her story that she'd be in New York for a week, and to inquire if she had any shoots tonight or any ideas. So I texted her and I was like, I want you to shoot my album cover. She's one of my favorite creatives and one of my favorite photographers. So I'm very happy that we got to do this. I gave her the rundown. She asked for words that I wanted to, like words and feelings I wanted to convey on the cover. And I said things like vulnerable and raw, which the tank top kind of represents. Because anytime somebody sees me, I'm in like a nice outfit. And I feel like me and my tank top is me and my true essence. If I'm around the house and I'm in the studio and I'm creating, I'm just in jeans or sweats and my tank top, and I'm getting my hair bleached in the cover, pun intended. Who helped with that is a great singer out of Atlanta. Her name's Ayana. She's an R&B singer, great artist. You should check out her music. But she helped us out with that, so thank you to her. But yeah, it was just, I wanted to get the vulnerable essence of me having my hair dyed, hair bleached in the bathroom as I usually do. And that it represents the kickoff of everything that happened in that, I say, 3-month period that I speak about throughout the entire project. But we shot it in a motel bathroom. We worked with what we had. And she did a great job with it. I feel like it captures the essence of the project perfectly. And yeah, got that. I always wanted to incorporate a crossword puzzle in my things, because growing up, me and my mom loved them. So we did the Bleached crossword puzzle, and we have a note that I wrote to the listener. I'm very proud of this. Very proud of this. I'm going to be shipping these out soon for free. Just people that supported, allow them to hold the music in their hands.
So they should definitely let you know if they want one.
Yeah. Yes. Let me know. Free. Who doesn't like free?
Okay, so do you enjoy collaborating with visual artists and other creatives for your projects? And how do these collaborations shape your work overall?
I have scarcely when I am collaborating with somebody, it's somebody that I find to be a friend, a real friend, and somebody I'm an actual fan of their work. I won't work with somebody based off the relationship alone. I also have to love what you do, and I want you to love what I do too. I don't want you to work with me based off the relationship alone. Work with me based off of if we were strangers. Do you like what I do and how I do it? If yes, that's the reason we should work with each other. And a lot of the times it's with people I am personally close with or have personal relationships with. That I do believe that collaboration is extremely important. I can have this vision for something, this idea for this bigger picture, and then you bring in a collaborator and they can point at that bigger picture and say, I see exactly where you're going with it. What if you did this? And now I like with that. I like exactly where you went with that. Now that you added that, what if I added this to what you did? And we can keep going back and forth off of that. And then you stand back and the bigger picture is completely different than what you initially imagined. I think that's the importance of collaboration. Collaboration is preached and expressed to us as creatives consistently, but based off of the networking aspect. You should collab more so that you can get that person's fans, and that person can get your fans, and you'll grow your fan base. What if I wanted to what if we just collabed with people because of their creativity and their ideas and the actual creative value that we can offer one another? There's so many collaborations that don't even make sense creatively, but for the sake of both of our fan bases are going to flourish because of this, which is a great thing and it's very important. But I want my creative collaborations to be based off of our creativity, our ideas, and how they mesh well together. My thing is always, it has to make sense. 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 And if we create something and it doesn't make sense, we don't have to release it. It's okay. Because we can always do it again. Or we can meet back once we have an idea that does make sense. It's not the end of the relationship and not the end of future collaborations. It may not just work right here, right now. Happens a ton of times. But to me, it just has to make sense. It just has to make sense. Making sense is important. And it doesn't have to make sense to... Someone doesn't have to listen to it or watch it or view it for the first time and not make sense in terms of digestion. I don't mean it has to make sense to where it has to be easily digestible or it has to be digestible, period. The meal itself has to be a meal that makes sense. Let's not mix spaghetti and pancakes. You know? That's the first thing that popped into my head. That's what I mean by make sense. Oh, yes.
So you have a lot of people that look up to you.
Thanks. They're gonna make me feel a way, like a good way.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to aspiring musicians and artists looking to develop their own creative voices that are hearing all of the noise, a part of the noise, and feeling a little stuck where they are?
First, I would say that the noise is just that. It's noise. When you're creating, all that matters is what's happening in that room in that moment. Don't create for anything outside that room. Don't create for anything outside that time period of where you are creating in that moment. And I say that, and I mean, what I mean by that is because I struggle with it too at times. And I have to remind myself, when I'm creating, do I like this? Do I like where it's going? Do I like how it sounds? And do I like how it makes me feel? That's all that matters. That's all that matters with getting your product together. Imagine, which I'm sure many people do, but you woke up every day putting on an outfit with a stranger in mind.
Whoa.
And what I mean by that is every morning you get up, you open your closet door, you look at the clothes that you have, and you're putting your outfit together based on a stranger you might see. One that doesn't even make sense, because if it's a stranger, how can you even picture this person and their thoughts of you, or the thoughts they may have when they see you? It's a stranger. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't even know if you're on their mind. That's one. So when I put on an outfit, it's purely for me, not the outside noise. And if you want to do something remarkable, noise has to be made. You want the noise. Don't focus solely on creating something that you are going to get a good reaction from. Don't attach an emotion to it. Create something that you're going to get a reaction from, period. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. The worst thing somebody can do is come across your art and have no feeling about it. That's worse than somebody seeing your art and having a negative feeling about it. Creating art is about making somebody feel something, whether it's bad, whether it's good. As long as you feel like you're going to draw a reaction based off your creativity, you're on the right track. Expose yourself to more than what you're used to and the bubble that you live in. Open your palette, your creative palette, much more. Listen to a genre you might have never thought you'd listen to. Never did I think I'd listen to folk music. I listen to Joni Mitchell all the time. Never did I think I'd listen to folk music. With that, you can strengthen your creative output. I came across Joni Mitchell because I've always heard her name in the greatest songwriter of all time conversations. Her and Bob Dylan would be mentioned all the time. If I cut out those genres of music, it wouldn't make sense to cut out those genres of music for the sake of, I don't think, that's not what I listen to. No, that's not what I listen to right now. Open my palette to that, be introduced to these songwriters that are considered the greatest of all time, and strengthen what it is that you do. We have to expose ourselves more. Break out of the box. Don't be boxed in. Break free from repetition. And allow yourself to grow stylistically. Don't become comfortable in a style. Don't get stuck there, because then you'll burn out. But that also comes with a lot of confidence. Building your confidence. One thing I always said, well, I always like to say, is while you're finding your style and finding your sound, allow what you're creating up until that point to build your back catalog and build your confidence. Make a ton of songs, make a ton of art projects, whatever, that you might not find great, but it's helping you sharpen your pen, helping you sharpen your sword, helping you sharpen your paintbrush, and just release them to the public. That's how releasing all these mixtapes was my way of not only building myself stylistically, but allowing myself to shed that layer of pre-release anxiousness, the fear of outside opinion. Now it's just like, it's as easy as putting a pair of pants on just to release something out for me, because I allowed myself all these years of just releasing stuff out, and it's a part of getting to where you want to be. And a quote that I like and I come across is, where you want to be is on the other side of your fear. So you just got to push through that. Push through that and tell yourself, no matter what opinions you're going to get, it's okay. What's important is that you got an opinion. That's it. That's what I got. I hope that helps.
Though I was not in my high school yearbook, that was actually my quote.
It was?
Yeah.
Wait, where you want to be is on the other side of fear? Or your fear?
Yeah.
That's good.
I wasn't inside of my yearbook because I didn't take a photo. Yeah, that's... Yeah.
Dang.
I think that exactly what I put was, life begins on the opposite side of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. My regret is not buying my yearbook.
Yeah.
I didn't buy my yearbook.
I actually saw you in your yearbook. Somebody else had it.
Yeah.
All right, this one's a good one.
Okay.
All right, so you constantly are saying that creation is your religion. Can you explain your theory behind that?
Yeah. So, to me, and I don't want to offend anybody, but to me, I believe that religion is a symbol and a tool. It's something somebody relies on and dedicates themselves as a form of guidance and as a form of strength. Me, I'm not a part of any religion. I don't have a religion. What I use as my strength and to guide me through this thing called life is my creativity. I'm a devout creative. I create nonstop. If I don't have creativity, I feel lost, which many people who follow religion may feel the same about their religion. If I don't have my religion, I feel lost. My God gives me guidance, that kind of thing. For me, that's why I feel about creating, about music. It's what gets me up in the morning. It's what keeps me looking forward to tomorrow and also keeps me in the very moment I'm in. It's what allows me to see past the short term. It's what keeps me alive. So all these things, all of that, which I believe to be the positives of religion, is how I feel about creative and creation and creativity. Like I said, to me, creativity is to me what sun is to a plant. So to a plant, sun might be its God. So to me, that's me with creativity and creation. It's what keeps me going. Creativity is my religion. I'm a devout creative. That's all I think about. And I don't want to stop thinking about it, no matter how mad it makes me. But yeah, I go to sleep thinking about creativity. I guess my mantras and what I tell myself and my manifestations would be my prayer. They all revolve around creativity and my future creations and the creations I have in mind for myself. When I wake up, the first thing on my mind is the creative plans I set for myself that day or this week or this month. So creativity is my religion. It's what I revolve around and what revolves around me. We are all art. in terms of religion, people may believe that their God and their religion brought us here. Creativity brought us here. Our parents had to create us. They had to make us. We are the art of our parents, the creatives. So creation brought us here. Creativity is everything. Creativity is my religion. Oh, I love it so much. I don't know where I would be without it. I honestly don't. I don't know. But I love it. And it makes me mad. Good mad. Like mad genius kind of mad.
Can you share any details about any upcoming projects or collaborations that you are excited about?
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, got nothing. I'm in the finding myself stage again.
Okay,
So I got nothing.
Got it.
I could give a whole rant of what I have coming and then drop a whole opposite.
That's
exactly
like
what I would
nothing.
do.
What are some of your proudest achievements in your music career this year?
Getting to a point where I am directing and editing my own videos. Because like I said, I got into film. Like I really became intrigued by the artistic side of film, and that led me to eventually wanting to direct videos on my own. Films. Like I want to direct movies and get into cinematography. So taking the step in investing in entry level cinema equipment and using that to begin shooting and directing and editing my own videos and visualizers for my music as a means of entry into the world of film and cinema, that made me really proud. And pushing myself artistically with the music I've been making, continuously allowing myself to push the envelope for myself and not, as we keep saying, allowing myself to be stuck in a box, and continuously building the courage and confidence to make the kind of records that I've been playing and toying around with has made me really proud, because at one point I was just too insecure to even think about making it. Around a year ago, I had immense doubts of even dropping a project like Bleached, because I didn't think I had it in me. I didn't think I would do it good enough, because it's not my initial style. But doing it, releasing it, and getting the feedback I got from it really built a ton of confidence for myself to continue experimenting and kind of, again, how you feel about yourself and your creations and your art shouldn't be dictated by the noise and by the outside opinion. But to contradict that, when the outside noise and opinion is that of high regard and praise on a project that you were initially insecure to create and release, that can be an immense energizer and put a crazy battery in your back to kind of telling yourself, like, it's okay to experiment, and it's okay to not create what you're used to creating, because there's only one way to get better, and it's by doing things you haven't done. Yeah. So that, I guess, the film aspect of directing, to answer your question, I'm proud of me directing my videos now, full-fledged, and opening up that new creative avenue for myself, and my continuous growth in my confidence as a creative and as an artist. I feel like there's nothing I can't do. I've always felt like that, but I would have a track history of doing the same thing. So I would tell myself, there's nothing I can't do, and then go back to my art, and be like, oh, but I'm doing the same thing. I'm contradicting myself in a way. But now I'm doing all these different styles. It's cementing my stance that I have with myself of there's nothing I can't do, because I'm continuously doing whatever it is I think of.
This is a good one.
Okay.
What do you hope your legacy will be in the world of music and art?
I'll give a short and vague answer, and then I'll expound on it. My goal is to become one of the greatest to ever do it, to the point where it's non-debatable. Where a conversation of greats comes up and someone mentions Vondo, someone mentions Javante Kiriton, and nobody in the room has doubt about it. Like we say, how we talk about the Jay-Z's, how we talk about the Kanye Wests, how we talk about the Beatles and the Michael Jacksons. I want to be one of the greatest. Deeper into that, my favorite aspect of music is songwriting. And I continuously aim and work towards bettering my songwriting. So I want to be regarded and respected as one of the greatest songwriters. A little bit of ego, but that's okay. But I do want to be a renowned songwriter. I want my legacy to represent someone who wasn't scared to take risks. Not only not scared to take them, but does take them creatively, artistically. Someone that creates for tomorrow. When the noise is, this is what's happening right now, I want to do this. And then the noise meets me here. And then I do it again. And then the noise meets me here. That's how I want.
I like that.
Right? And I guess that's what takes me a little bit longer to craft my songs and my projects, because when you're creating for tomorrow, essentially you're creating in a world that doesn't exist. So it's not the easiest thing to do, but I want to be looked at as an artist that did that. A risk taker, a phenomenal songwriter, an inspiration to show people that you can not only do it, but you already have what is needed to get it done. A big thing for me this year is I upgraded a lot of my studio equipment. None of the music that's out as of right now on streaming platforms has been recorded on any of this. This is all new. I recorded on a Scarlett interface for every single one of the songs that you've heard from me prior to this point as of right now. And that's an entry-level interface. And a lot of people may have that or look at that and say, no, I gotta wait till I got something better. I did 7, 8 projects on that entry-level interface. They're getting love. They're being praised. People are saying it's their favorite songs. People know the songs word for word, so it's possible. I could have easily looked at that and said, I'm not going to record these songs till I save up the money and have what I need to get the equipment I want and then get started. Just start. You have everything you need. And if you don't have it right now, it's much closer than you think it is. So I say that to say an inspiration to show people you have you have what you need right now to at least get started towards what you want. And honestly, all in all, just like a revolutionary artist, somebody who's doing something that's new, somebody that's refreshing, somebody that sticks out from the, what, at this point, millions of artists. Just like and a lot of people shy away, a lot of artists I know to shy away from being a role model. But I will gladly wear that jacket as a role model and as an inspiration and use it in the right light. Because I think that's important. And I think that is a lot of what's wrong, is that a lot of people are in these high positions and they completely disregard the influence and platform they have for whatever reason it is. Millions of people are looking up to you and seeing you as an inspiration. And if the people are the reason you're in the position you are currently in, and the people are the reason you reach the heights that you reach, you owe them to lead them the right way. You know? They made you who you are, so return that favor the best way you can as an influence, as somebody with a platform. A lot of people are winning because of the people, but aren't acting as someone for the people, which is not okay, in my opinion. So, if one person in the world sees me as a role model, I'll gladly wear that jacket. I won't shy away from the title, and I will act within that role, no pun intended, properly. I hope I answer your questions and these rants. I hope these rants answer your questions. This is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
That'd be good if you can use that for like the outro. I hope these rants answer your question.
I hope these rants answer your questions. Or they're the intro.
Or the intro. That'd be good.
I do the letter, and then right after the letter goes, and it says, and I say, I hope these rants answer your questions. That would be good. Really
good. What has been your most important read this year, book-wise? And what was your greatest takeaway?
The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. You know, it's a book I talk nonstop about. I just put my friend onto it yesterday. And within that book, most of the book is about the premise of the law of assumption, which is the understanding that anything you want, your deepest, loftiest desires, are there for your taking. In order to get there and to achieve and become the person you ultimately want to be, the highest being of yourself, you have to live right now as if you're already that. And not only that, that emotion has to be attached to it, because, and he describes it as living under the assumption of the wish fulfilled. So meaning you're living day to day in your life as if everything you already want is already in your possession. The person you want to ultimately become is the person you are today. But if you don't attach the emotion to how you believe you would feel when attaining those things, he says it's empty daydreaming without emotion attached to it. And he goes on to explain how, in which I fully believe, that the strongest tool we have as human beings that no other living thing in the universe has is imagination. It's our strongest tool. It got us to do this. Our imagination brought us here. Our imagination, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, dictates what we do each and every second. We think about things before we do it. And us thinking is imagination. So to harness that imagination and use it to becoming, pretty much tricking your imagination in your mind into believing and understanding that you are your highest self already. Even if you aren't that right then and there, live as if you are already there. Because our mind cannot differentiate the difference between imagination and reality. Our mind only knows what it tells us. Our mind only knows what we tell it. I was just telling my friend that yesterday. We were on a call, and from my point of view, I was looking at a pond. Through my continuous sitting at this pond that I do almost every day, I have fed to my mind and to my imagination that when I see these trees and I see this water and I see this animal and I see these animals, I feel at peace. So when I see these things, I'm in a peaceful state. Now I said, if growing up I came to a location similar to this and had a traumatic experience, i.e., I almost drowned in a pond, maybe then when I see ponds, I would enter an anxious state. I would enter a fearful state. This is all based on what we tell our imagination. Our imagination doesn't know reality. It only knows, well, our mind doesn't know reality. It only knows what we feed it. So our minds don't know good or bad. Our minds don't know what actually makes us happy unless we tell it that it makes us happy. Creating music became stressful for me. So every time I sat down, open the laptop and get to writing a song, I'd become super stressed. Before the beats even playing, before the first words on there. Because for the few weeks and months, I just kept feeding to my mind, every time I sit here, I'm stressed out for some reason. Every time I try to record a song, I'm stressed out. So then it became no longer fun. I had to rehabilitate my mind into believing every time I sit here, this is my happy place now. This is my happy place again. Every time I sit here, I'm having fun. I'm playing. That just goes into how much control we have over our mind and using our imagination. The world is limitless for us. So that's what the book pretty much taught me, is that our imagination is our strongest tool, and the worst thing we can do is not take full advantage of it. We're the only things living that have an imagination at the capacity we do. Neville Goddard, The Power of Awareness. And my favorite thing is how he goes into religion and how he breaks down religion. So I was explaining this to my friend yesterday again when I put him onto the book, where he leads off the book with the I am. And I am is the awareness of consciousness. And me and you saying I am is us being aware that we are here right now. His view on religion, similar to mine, is that it's all symbolic. The I am is God. You are God, I am God. God is not something outside of us. So when we say I am, not only are we aware of our consciousness, but we are aware that we are God. We are God. It's in us. It's not something outside of us that we praise. Again, this is pure opinion. But belief on my end. So if we are God, right? God is within us. He goes into saying that Jesus Christ is imagination. That is our seed. That is our brainchild. It's called the brainchild. Jesus Christ is the child of God, if I'm not mistaken. We are God. Our minds, our imagination is Jesus Christ. That's our son. That is our everything. The Immaculate Conception, believed in religion, is that Virgin Mary became pregnant with Jesus Christ without committing sin or having outside without any outside influence. That's the Immaculate Conception. He believes that an Immaculate Conception is that our minds came up with an idea purely on its own without the influence of any outside living thing or person. That's an Immaculate Conception. In the comparison, Virgin Mary, the Jesus Christ entered Virgin Mary without any outside influence. Jesus Christ, the imagination, entered our minds. The idea, the thought, entered our minds without any outside influence or interaction. Sinning and living righteous. He explains that sinning is completely missing the mark. Not living at your highest self. That is sinning. Living righteousness, living within righteousness and living righteous is living with the belief that you are at all times the highest version of yourself and living within that belief of yourself. If you're living outside the realm of the belief that you are your highest self and living as if the wish is fulfilled, then you're sinning. You're missing the mark. So yeah, I love that book. So good. Yeah. Rants. Rants and raves. That's all I do.
So tell me, what is the importance to you of art and music?
It's probably going to sound crazy, but cover art and album art, to me, a lot of times ranks higher than everything else on the album. Which sounds crazy, I know. So, when I was younger, my uncle in his bedroom had on CD DMX's album Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. Now this cover art is a white cover art, and then his DMX soaked in blood. I used to sneak into his room to look at that cover art, thinking I was doing something wrong. He used to be out with all his CDs, but when he would be like in the back or something or somewhere else in the house, I would sneak into his room. You would think I was looking at like a Playboy or something. I would sneak into his room, grab that DMX cover, and just stare at it. Just because I was so intrigued by it. It's a white cover, and DMX is soaked in blood, and I thought I was doing something so... I thought if I got caught looking at this album cover, I'd be in a ton of trouble. That's when I became intrigued with cover art. The second cover art that I became extremely intrigued by was College Dropout by Kanye. And in there, I remember opening it, and Kanye is sitting with the bear head, and he's in the mascot suit of the bear. And I just thought it was weird. I didn't understand it. I remember just sitting there being intrigued by this cover art. And then 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Trying, where the cover art looks like it was shot and it's broken glass. The glass on the cover art looks shattered. From that point on, cover art has always been so important to me. And when I see a single or an album or a project with bad cover art, it just does something to my spirit, and it doesn't do something good. A lot of the times, what will make me press play on a album is the cover art. You can come to me and be like, yo, this album is so good. And if I search it up and the cover art's not good, I'm not going to be too inclined to press play on it. Why? I don't know. Well, I just explained why. But it's extremely important for me. Like, it's art. And I think it should be taken much more seriously. I know a lot of people don't have the budgets to put out phenomenal cover arts. Like back in the day, like big artists would do full-blown cover shoots, photo shoots for the cover arts. And when it was announced and the album cover would come out. That's my favorite part of the lead up to an album, is the cover art reveal. When an artist, next week we dropping the cover, tomorrow we drop the cover. I don't know, it's my favorite part. Maybe it goes into like a love for like photography or something, or just paintings and pictures. But that's like extremely important. I know it sounds crazy to say like it's the most important thing, but for me it is, because it really determines whether or not I press play on the album or not. Which, yeah, but it's like the cover art has to be good, and I feel like it's becoming a lost art, especially now when everybody is pumping out just songs and projects left and right, and somebody will drop 20 songs in a month. I'm exaggerating, but at that rate you're not really trying to come up with 20 phenomenal cover arts. So that's what also like makes me space out my releases so much, is because I want the cover arts to be intriguing and eye-capturing and captivating. And in order to do that, I have to give myself some leeway to come up with the ideas for the cover arts and the shoots and things like that. I can't begin recording a project if I don't have, one, the title, and two, an idea or concept of what the cover art's going to be. It's like a film. If the movie cover doesn't look intriguing, I don't want to watch it. One of my favorites as of late and recently is Saltburn. One of my favorite movies. I watched it a ton of times. Don't know why I love it so much. I think it's like the style of it and the aesthetic of it and the feel of it, and that old money feel mixed with coming of age chaos is just morphed beautifully. But the posters they did for that movie and the cover for that movie, it's all top notch, and that's what adds to my love for it. Like, I have all the posters just downloaded to my phone, and I'll just revisit them, and I want to like recreate them. So it's like super important. So do take your cover art more seriously. And I guess, like, I've been watching a lot of like Paul McCartney interviews and talking about his days with the Beatles. And I remember in one of them he explained that like fans would drive 2 hours to the record store to physically hold the vinyl, the album, the LP, whatever you want to call it, the CD. Drive 2 hours to, and now it's also become a lost art because everything's streaming and on the phone, but they would drive 2, 3, 4 hours to the record store to have the record in hand. And he said knowing that they put so much work into it because they wanted them on that train ride home for 2 hours to rip open that package and be intrigued by everything inside it for that and the entirety of the time. Like, this is art. Art. It's a lost art, but it's art. That was the last question?
That was the last one.
That was a good, yeah.
That was the last one, like literally.
My leg hurts so bad from doing this the whole time. This whole side burns. No pun intended.
This is good.
This was great.
Yeah. Like, I know you're like, but this was good.
No, let me stop it.
And I can't believe that you actually take time to put all these shots together, put all the lighting together, and then you sit on it for 64 days. That's what I said. Yeah.
Mad.
Mad. Madman.